Calvin Klein.
Hey, we're live.
All right.
All right.
It's staring
Evening,
at me.
everyone. Date is August 28th, 2013, and welcome to Debuffed News, WildStar Edition. This week on our cast, we have Shardreg.
What?
We have Cannon, Grievance's
Hello.
future Dominion Guild leader, and new to the Debuffed video cast, we have Chip, our resident squirrel on crack. How's everybody doing this evening?
We're
Wonderful.
doing good, Steel. Thank you. How are you doing, Steel?
I am doing well. Mr. Puddles is on his way to Seattle, and coincidentally, during the same time PAX West is going on. So, Mr. Puddles will not be here tonight, obviously, but this weekend he will be rubbing shoulders with, hopefully, many developers and getting us a lot of really good gossip that we probably aren't going to be allowed to talk about for weeks to come.
Lucky dog. We'll put it that way. I almost said something I'm not supposed to.
Shame on you. So anyway, this week's WildStar Wednesday was postponed till tomorrow, so go figure. So we're going to talk about a couple things. First of all, Shardrig had a great opportunity to go to Gamescom in Europe this last weekend.
Yeah, just Friday, actually.
And he got to meet some of the developers and got to do some really neat things. So he's going to tell us about what he saw at Gamescom, what he got to participate in, and then he's going to show us a couple really neat things that, well, let's just call it loot. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, loot's my favorite. That's why I play MMOs, really.
Stuff.
Yeah, give
Back
me
rat. Let's do
all the stuff. Well, I met up with a couple developers from Carbine Studios, actually. It was really good. They were so super accommodating, so happy to tell few secrets and facts about their game, and you really felt like they wanted you to know, but only you to know. It was really, really, really good. And of course, they showed me around the game a bit. It was my first time actually getting my hands on the game. I had never had a chance to play. It was my first convention, really. And it was a good experience. I think I really, really like that game. I might just be falling for it. And it feels good playing a game like this again. Really, really good.
Good. That's good to hear.
That's really good to hear. Now, what were the developers like? I mean, you got to meet these guys in person. Were they friendly, accommodating?
Well, I knew who I had to speak to, so I waltzed up to the booth, and I just talked to one of the guys with the official T-shirt. I'm like, I'm here to see the developers. I got like a loose meeting set up of sorts, and they're like, well, let's see if they're actually here. So they just go about their business backstage and look for them. They're like, no, they're not here. They might be out for lunch or doing something else. They're not here. You gotta come back. I'm like, all right, it only took me an hour to get here through all these Riot Games fans because that was next door and the hall was
insane.
Actually, the day after I went, they locked down that hall because it was too big. They just locked it. Nobody could enter anymore. Yeah, that was a bit over the top. So then I came back 2 hours later because, an hour go away and an hour to get back. And I actually met them, and they just came out, and they were so friendly. Like, hi, we're so happy to meet you. And it was amazing. I never felt that welcome anywhere else, really. It was good fun. It was good fun. So
this is something Shavasa set up for you, right?
Right. She it actually only the development that I would be going alone and would have a bit of free time on my hands only came through about a day and a half before that. So she just contacted them real quick, and then they said, "Yeah, sure, we'll make some time for for Tilo, and we'll see him, and turned out just fine. It was perfect.
Oh,
And,
that's great.
So I actually gotta
Nice.
thanks WildStar here for making the call out to them and setting this up, because it proved to be really good. I'm a
Nice.
very happy person. I got to see a bit of the information around the game. They told me a bit about their plans, how it's going to work. I'm not too sure how much I can tell you guys here, really.
Yeah.
So probably not too much. I mean, they did say a bit of at Gamescom. Naturally, did a few of the reveals here and there, but overall, I guess we have to wait and see.
Oh no!
So
I
now
have to say, hey, thanks to Shavasa for everything she's been doing for us. She's been doing some amazing stuff for us. So props to you, ma'am.
Very good, very nice. Yeah.
Sorry, Steele. Continue on.
Oh no, go ahead. So now you got a couple things to show us.
I do. While I was there, I may have, with a slight stroke of my trusted battle axe that I at all times carry with me, hit the loot pinata that was available at the WildStar
Dave.
booth. You know, I reshifted the axe, and it may have touched the loot pinata a bit, and so I came up with a couple of things. Most unconspicuous of which is this bag, and now I'm not here. It's just a bag, but boy, does this bag have contents? First of all, there is a pen. It's so boring, I know, but it's a WildStar pen. So
Wouldn't
I shall
last
ad-
3 seconds in my house.
Yeah.
that's why it has 2 in it. So now you got 6 seconds of writing. That should give you enough time for a signature at least. And then this is my most favorite part. I think it's got little bags that say full of beans.
Oh, good. I thought it was
Candy?
something else.
It is.
Prophylactics to the.
Oh,
I wouldn't know how that would tie into WildStar really. So we just skip it. And then
oh no.
it's got this beautifully, awfully crafted notebook. It's just got blank pages in it, so you can write whatever you want. But
Yeah.
the artwork
Look at that
on it
cover.
is beautiful. It's like a solid cover. You can't bend it. It's like solid paper, and it's really
Diary.
beautiful. It's
Yeah.
really wonderful. And then it goes on with a very inconspicuous looking piece of black thing, but it's actually a hidden art book with lots of postcards in it that have all these fantastic WildStar motives that you know from the website, or
Wow.
maybe not all from the website. And there's I want to say 30 of them, really, with a couple of
Nice.
landscape shots even. It's just a really nice piece of artwork, and I am an artwork victim. Whenever there's a game that I enjoy and they release an art book or something, I'm the first to order it, because I don't know, my shelves are full of it. I just love artwork.
As we can see from the big banner on his wall, which is pretty cool, by the way.
That's just a band flag. Don't mind that. And then, of course, so you can walk around Gamescom in style, there's a wonderful... Let me scoot back here a little. There's a wonderful WildStar t-shirt. I hope you can see that all right.
The tank.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
can
it's
see
got
that.
it's got the big dude on the front, and then it's got the wonderful
Oh, that's
WildStar at the back. So this is a really... I mean, I don't know if you can tell, but that guy has a cigar in his mouth, and he's got this badass look on his face. Says, "I'm gonna get you." So
Is that the judge? I think that's supposed to be the judge.
It might. It looks good. He looks armed to the teeth and ready to go. So it's a good bit of swag, and of course there's as is customary, I want to say, a really nice lanyard that says WildStar on the one side and NCSoft and Carbine on the other, and it feels really nice, silky almost. I'm a happy man. I'm a happy man with my loot. You could call it epic if you would.
Definitely
That's-
epic.
He cleared up, I think. Cleaned up good over
You
there.
went green on
Jeez.
every single dice roll for that. I knew it.
I went neat with 100. Not even ashamed.
Neat,
Not
indeed.
even ashamed.
How does he keep rolling that?
No, what's neat is I like that they're putting a lot of effort into the merchandise, so to speak. Because, I mean, look, your notebook that you have, the T-shirt, the lanyard, that's all really nice promo stuff. You don't see that in a lot of different games coming out, or maybe it's a trend of the future. I mean, while you're at Gamescom, how much of that did you see from other booths?
I did see a couple of games. I set out with to see 14 games and about 5 other developers for hardware. I think I managed 6 in a 10-hour day at Gamescom, just because it was packed in Hall 8, which kept most of my time really. And then for other games, I stood in line for an hour and a half to get 20 minutes game time and a bit of talk with developers or community people.
Wow.
And that just saps your time away. So,
Bet.
effort-wise, of course, there's always the booth that go all out and give out keyboards and graphic cards, which, by the way, they did too. While I was playing the game, sadly, while I was playing the game, they had this outgoing person there being like, "And who needs a keyboard?" And he had like the girls scream and the guys scream, and then he was always like, "Sorry, girls," the guys were louder, and he did it like 3 times until the girls finally came out of their shell and screamed like mad.
Nice.
And then he started giving stuff to them as well, and not like, little itsy bitsy stuff, but keyboards, headsets, and graphic cards, and there was a good bit of stuff going on. So
Graphic cards, that's cool.
That's where you go out and run and stretch and get it for yourself.
you-
Like,
That
see ya.
slow dive.
it was nuts. People were just screaming all over the place, hands in the air, reaching for everything. It was not okay.
This one you
Not
need that
okay.
girth to move through people. It's like, get out of my way. Boom.
I'll lead the way.
See, that's
It was-
what we're going to do at the next convention. We're just going to send our resident squirrel on crack, Chip, and he's going to look like Santa Claus coming out of that thing.
I got this. I got this.
By
Hey,
the end
question.
of the day, I did look like Santa Claus. This is
Nice.
Nice.
So, you saw all these people here playing the game. You know, they all had their hands in it and everything. What was the feeling you got from the crowd? I mean, obviously everybody's there to play WildStar. They're all excited about it. But were they really hyped after they got done? Were they sad that they couldn't play anymore? Stuff like that.
I saw people leaving their computer and going to the end of the line to queue again, and
Oh.
that was not a short line. That was a 40-minute line in itself at some point. So people leaving after 25 minutes game time and going around just to stand in line again, just to play more. This tells you something about the motivation they have to actually get their hands on WildStar, and I think it's a good thing. It felt good.
Well, now you see, I've never been to one of these conventions, and that's going to change next year, obviously, with Pensacon, and I'm going to stop into Comic-Con next year as well. How many computer booths do they actually have set up for people to play these games? Like WildStar.
That varies per game, I guess. I've seen games that had 50, I want to say, and I think WildStar was around 25, 30, I want to say. I'm not. I actually did not count, but just from my memory, yeah, that should be around 25, 30 computers for everybody to just play. It was good. Good computers too. No,
Well, of course.
SPS drops. Yeah, but I mean, you're rolling up there. You have one booth, and you put out 30 high-end computers. That's quite a commitment to the crowd as well.
Yeah. Now, I thought I had read someplace that they also had a 40 by 40 war plot thing going on. So I thought I read that they did that at Gamescom. So they probably had something else someplace else. I would have loved to have seen that.
Yeah, and I think I must have missed that, or it must have been on Saturday, which is usually the busier
Probably
day.
Saturday. Yeah, probably Saturday.
Yeah. Something that I didn't mention is while I was talking to the two devs, a door opened to the backstage area, and out comes this huge tank guy in this costume. It's like 7 feet tall costume, and he just walks around the stand in this, essentially what you see on the T-shirt. And he just walks around, and they look really good, impressive. I may
wish
have
we-
gawked there for a second or two. I gotta say, yeah,
Like-
that may have been me.
I
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Okay, so change of topic.
All right.
Carbine recently announced, and I know we touched on this a little bit last week, but Carbine recently announced that they were not going to make a 2013 launch, but to look for it, first quarter, springtime next year. Now, that puts them into direct contention with Elder Scrolls Online. And is the negative side of it. Now, the positive side of it is obviously Carbine has an unbelievable media machine going right now, and their marketing is probably some of the best I've seen next to Tryon. So, how do you think this is going to affect their launch overall? Cannon?
Obviously, there's going to be some stiff competition. I mean, we got people on both sides of this. Even in the grievance itself, we got people looking forward to Elder Scrolls. But I've never been an Elder Scrolls fan myself, so I don't feel it. I feel grievance, and I see what they're putting out there, and it just looks amazing. I haven't seen much coming out for Elder Scrolls myself, so what do they have to offer? I mean, I've heard some people talk about it, and not to put it down, but they've been like, not impressed. So, right now I gotta say, hey, I think WildStar is gonna be the winner here, right? Knockout first round. Next.
Now, Tilo, I know you know a little bit more about Elder Scrolls. How do you feel about that?
I'm not sure if there's going to be a whole lot of competition between the two. I mean, there's going to be a lot of, a certain amount of cannibalism going on, of course, between the two games. But ultimately, I think they may have two different target groups. Because, as far as I'm informed, Elder Scrolls is mostly PvP endgame. And while WildStar does have, of course, a big part with the war plots and everything, they also do have the progression rating in there. And I think that's going to pull a different crowd. Not to speak about graphic styles in the first place. That's, of course, a whole different thing for the two games. The one aims to be medieval and almost realistic. The other one is more comic-y and has a certain amount of tongue-in-cheek humor to it. So there is a difference, and I think it'll mirror the crowd that both games pull in the end.
Now, Elder Scrolls hadn't really started their marketing campaign, and a lot of people are expecting sometime around January, February for them to start ramping it up a little bit. Right now, they're in closed beta. We know there's a beta weekend coming up this weekend, and we should get some more information out of that. But they are indeed two different games. It'll be really interesting to see how it all plays out. Now, Chip, you have kind of a unique perspective on this. Your current game is Final Fantasy, and we know over the last year that they actually delayed their launch a couple times before settling on an August 27th launch. So how did that affect the community, and how has that benefited the game in the long run?
Well, I'm speaking from 1.0 experience. What I did was, as soon as I bought it, I took some pictures because I was so happy that day. I was really psyched up. I was like, yeah! And then I played it, and my face just, I was crying. And it was like, by January, I was like, I'm done with this. I considered it a thrown away investment. So when it was relaunched again, I was like, you can delay it all you want. It's basically been delayed 3 years at this point to me. And let me tell you, I'm very happy that they delayed it the 3 years. It's about what happens. So, you will lose some people to saying, hey, I'm tired of waiting for this. I know for a fact that some of our WildStar members have decided, I'm not going to wait instead of 3 months, it's going to be 6 months or more. So they're like, I'm going to play something else for a bit. So the waiting will take, effect. But ultimately, like you guys said, Elder Scrolls and WildStar have two very different populations. I feel, from looking at it from a business standpoint, WildStar will be ultimately more successful because of the background that they have. They're being published by NCSoft. This is an established company. They have produced some of the world's, renowned MMOs, and lately they've had some flubs, but so does Square Enix. But I'm still a big fan.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Carbine has generated almost a rabid fan base for WildStar. It is unbelievable. Yeah, they come out with a paragraph on 2 new races, 1 paragraph per race for WildStar Wednesday, and the fan base just goes unbelievably crazy over it. Starts dissecting it. I mean,
you see what he did here?
Leonia.
Yeah, but it's funny because you'll read the forums on it. They're like, well, the Chua's ears are only 2 inches tall, but does that mean something? So it's really interesting to see them dissect all this. It's a very dedicated and lively fan base.
Wait till you see an Orin liver. Man, they look like... Anyway.
Now, both WildStar and Elder Scrolls have announced they're going to have subscription models. And that does present a quandary for people who are planning to play both, because I don't know about you. I'm a married man. Wife tolerates my gaming habit, but paying for 2 subscriptions at once when they're both mine and not sharing with one of my boys is not really going to go over well in the household. So, do you think this is going to affect the overall participation in either game?
Definitely.
Yes, definitely going to do it, because we got a lot of people out there in grievance as well that they don't have the funds, or they don't want a subscription game. They are only free to players, and that's their choice. Myself, I'd rather have a subscription game where I pay money and I get the content. I know they most of the time, there are games out there that haven't followed through, but they follow up on their promises that, hey, we're going to have updates for you. I mean, what Carbine offer every month, every 2 weeks? I can't remember now, to be honest, but they're going to keep adding content. I mean, right now they say we're at 250 hours of content, and they're going to add more content. My God, it's going to be amazing. But I can see where they're coming from. But then they have cred. And it offers the ability for these free to play players, to if you want to, work at getting your game time in game. If you are a person that can get the gold, easily in game, buy cred, then you are free to play. It's just you have to work for it. Next.
So it's kind of loosely based. I know Eve does something similar to where players can earn enough. What's it called? ISK? Is that right?
Yeah.
ISK is the in-game currency. Plesk is the cred, basically.
Okay. But they do have something to where I know Trass, a real-life friend of mine, he played a long time without ever paying for a subscription.
It's possible. It is very possible. And they said, you're going to have to probably spend some time doing it, but you can do it. Work for it.
Work for it.
Yeah.
Now, Chip, you're playing, and I may be wrong on this, but you're playing a subscription-based game, and Final Fantasy is the first subscription-based game to launch in the last year and a half. Is that correct?
I believe so, sir. It's just Square Enix have always done their thing. Squaresoft, not Squaresoft, has always done their thing. It's always the way it is. And then they bought Eidos and Enix and all that, blah, blah, blah. Either way, Final Fantasy XI, still a subscription game. They don't cave to pressure, so to speak. It's like, lately I've seen a lot of commercials about, MMOs going, hey, you're now free to play. Play with us, kind of deal. And it's like, they never thought about that because they know what the subscription does. Subscription can, along with what the game is made for older people, so to speak. It's not meant for a child to pick up. So what they do is they add the subscription in there, and it's like, if you're trying to play a game that somebody, that the player base is older than you, and you have to pay a subscription, would you really want to? Instead of playing something that people of your age actually play, so you're not an outcast, so to speak, at school. It's like, oh, hey guys, you played the new Call of Duty, and it's like, I don't have that, and everyone's like, why don't you? It's just the subscription to me is perfect. I've played free-to-play games. I've come under that bug. My credit card is still suffering from that bug.
It costs me more than a regular subscription.
Yeah, just like, $20 here, $40 here, end of the month. Kind of deal.
We had somebody that said, "Oh, I just spent $2,000 on these things." We're like, "Oh my God, that's more than a subscription." Well, yeah, but I'm not paying every month for a subscription.
Yeah, so you know what? The subscription to me, it'll turn people off, but in the end, it'll make, as long as they don't institute a whole cash shop thing where it's like, if it's all cosmetics, I don't care. Because one, that'll appeal to players like me. I care about what my character looks like. Like, for example, in Final Fantasy, my chick was wearing rat brown, or mustard brown. So what did I do? I worked my butt off so she can wear black. Black is the in color. So, you know what? If you want to bring on the subscriptions, bring it on. As long as you make a quality game, I don't mind paying $15. If that is the monthly subscription, or it should be.
And I think you hit it on the head, a quality game. And a lot of the games in the past that did require a subscription fee, people were literally over and done with in 2 months. And they were, if you paid for 6 months or a year in advance, then you literally had 8 to 10 months that you were had paid for it and not doing anything. And it looks like both of these games, both WildStar and Elder Scrolls, are putting out some high quality games. So, and I tend to agree with you. I always remain skeptical, of course, after the last few years in the MMO market, but I think it'll do well for WildStar as well. Now, shifting gears, and we got a few more minutes. Yep, grind that clutch. We've got a few more minutes, and I just want to touch on something because they haven't really made too many announcements about this in WildStar yet as far as specifics. But we know there's going to be guilds, clans, whatever you want to call them. We know that there will be war plots, which is basically PvP guild hall, correct? Basically,
yeah, roughly,
kind of, sort of. And we know
of sorts,
and we know there's going to be raiding. If you had to pick certain in-game guild functions or perks to being in a guild in WildStar, what would you pick? We'll start with Shardrig.
If I had to pick in a game like WildStar, I'm going to go with an integrated point management system for raids. If they're bringing back 40-man raids, you need to think 60, 70, 80 people rosters to make those work really on a regular basis. And to have an integrated DKP style or whatever style system to solve the loot distribution would go a long way to make organization easier. I mean, there's no doubt that the standard features in the guild are going to be there, like message of the day and statuses, and of course a guild calendar is going to be there, like an events calendar. I mean, that's in your toolbox if you're building a guild. Nobody does not have that. So I think an in-game point distribution system would be really helpful if you're aiming for 40-man endgame content.
That's good points. Cannon, how about you?
I'm just putting some things down. So, yeah, benefits to being in the guild, what I'd like to see, increased earning of XP, increased earning of cash flow. when, say, our settlers build an outpost, that we can save money for using a grievance outpost compared to using another guild's outpost. One thing I'd like to see is, granted, we have TeamSpeak and people can do this in TeamSpeak, but not everybody also gets in TeamSpeak. TeamSpeak. Anyhow, in guild, looking for dungeon. I would like to be able to say somebody starts it, I want looking for just guild members, and that pops up on everybody's screen. Would you like to go to a dungeon with so-and-so? That kind of make it a little bit easier for our members to be able to get into these dungeons. There's so many things. Next.
I actually like that idea because you're an older MMO player like myself, and you remember when everything was guild chat. Everything was typed in guild chat, and everybody was focused on the green lettering that would appear on screen. But nowadays, with the introduction of TeamSpeak 8, 9, 10 years ago, whenever, maybe not that long, nobody watches guild chat anymore.
I still do.
Well, I do too, but for the most part, well, you've seen it a million times. You've seen people hop into TeamSpeak. Hey, I've been shouting in guild chat for the last 5 minutes. Anybody want a group? So that's actually a really neat solution to that.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny thing to interject and what goes along with what she said. I've been playing a little bit of Final Fantasy 14 just to see what it's like. And the free company chat, I turned it green because I never saw it. So I had to turn it green so I could actually read it. I was like, oh, this is bad. I'm old school.
Now, Chip, what would you like to see as far as, a reason to be in a guild? Perks.
You know what I would really love that I've never seen before? Why can't you have, you upload a logo, and then you, pony in $1 billion of the in-game currency, and they'll design a mount based on that logo. So can you imagine, riding a, tiny little flying scooter with a grievance logo, kind of like a, what are those things? Like a Segway kind of deal, and you're just floating in WildStar in a train kind of deal. It's come on, guys, look at it. It's total promotion. You can make yourself in a formation kind of deal, like an arrow shape, and it's all just little G's right there, all red and gold. Can you imagine how awesome that would be?
What I want playing in the
outside the box.
I want Flight of the Valkyrie playing in the background as they're doing this.
Yes.
It's like,
the old saying goes, it never happened unless you either stream it or fraps it.
Well,
Screenshot or it didn't happen.
When you say perks for being in a guild, guild perks would be really nice. Think Rift, I guess, for example, where you could choose certain guild perks like more glory gain in PvP, more gold gain in PvE, or more chance for epic loot in dungeons. And you have to level up your guild through tasks and whatnot. And that could be a good thing. Or you gain reputation with factions faster. That could be a really good thing. Especially if you have a zone-driven game with a lot of PvE and PvP endgame content. Having perks actually would draw people into guilds instead of having a lot of little solo groups.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that always been a fun thing with trying to, make selections from a guild system like that. We could either have option A or option B. We'll pick option B. Or A. Anyway, that would be a really cool leveling system. You can have one or the other, but you can't have both. Make it customizable. A choice means something.
As long as you can reset them. There's nothing more frustrating than leveling up your guild, and then sometime down the road you realize, boy, we should have really picked that glory gain at level 1, and now we're stuck without it and we can't reset it. So do we re-level another guild? So if there's something in there, and even if it costs microtransaction money or something, there should be a way to reset those perks.
Yep, that's a very good point.
That really would be. Good. Now, last question for y'all. In EverQuest 1, those of you who were around to actually take part in the guild creation process, you remember what you had to do. You had to get 10 people together in a certain spot. You had to log out to the launcher, petition a GM with the guild name. The GM would find you in-game, would count the amount of people, verify the guild name, and then schedule another meeting with 10 people 2 days to a week from then to meet again before you could have an actual guild. And it was a very painful process. It really was. It was very tedious. It was all manually done. Now, obviously, Dark Age Camelot streamlined that to where you could have 8 people go in to a guild register and create a guild that way. And then, as we know, as games have progressed, Guild Wars 2, I believe, you could just log in with one person, create a guild, and then sign up people. Now, people fall on either end of this spectrum, and what do you feel the requirements should be to create a guild? That's, guild being obviously more than one group of people. Kenneth?
On launch day, I want to be able to take 10 people. I don't want it to be a simple amount as 4 in some games I've seen. But, I want to be able to take 10 people. That's the people, I should be able to walk up someplace and say, okay, we want to be a guild, because I have 10 people that can say yes. It's easy. Easy for us to get 10 people together to do this. It might make it harder for other places people to do that. And I want to stop all these little pop-up guilds from doing that. I hate the one-person guild type thing. That's always been bothered me. So I want it to take a little bit of effort to create a guild, but I don't want it to be EQ1 nightmare type thing. I don't want to see that craziness either. So that's what I'm looking for.
Now, Chip, y'all have recently created Guild on Final Fantasy, and if I'm correct, it took, congratulations, by the way, and if I'm correct, it took 3 to 4 people, but everybody had to be level 25. What are your feelings on this?
It was one person that had to do it, aka Fox, that had to do it. My feelings on it is basically this. It's like, okay, you want 2 people? Y'all can make a guild? Go ahead. It means nothing. You get the name that you want. Cool. I was in the guild before I had 5 people. We were so psyched. Guess what? None of them wanted to do the work. And I'm like, if you guys aren't going to do the work, I'm out of this. Screw this. And I left. It means nothing. You have to put in the work to the guild to make it succeed. Mm-hmm. That's why first day of Final Fantasy, I was literally on this thing, typing applications and all that stuff. It's like, you gotta put in the hard work. You know what? If you want to make a guild with 10 people or 4 people or 200,000 people, it doesn't matter. If no one wants to do the work to make it succeed, then it shouldn't be a guild in the first place. You can have the fancy name and the fancy tag. That means nothing to me.
Those are also good points. Shardrag, how do you feel about it?
I think 10 is a good number. For all I care, it could still be 20 to circumvent a little what I experienced in World of Warcraft for the progression rating, where people would say, I would really like to raid with your raid, but I don't want to join your guild. I have these 4 friends I really play with, and we have this guild set up, and I don't want to leave them behind. So making an entry barrier for guilds, or making the entry barrier a little bit higher, I feel, could maybe circumvent that a little when you have a little larger guilds to begin with. Feeling-wise, I think having a guild is a very gratifying thing. It's gratification. You start the game with your friends and you can have a guild almost right away. It's gratification for you. You can identify with the guild. I mean, if it turns out to be successful or not, we'll see in 6 weeks, 8 weeks. Who knows now? But for right now, cool, I have a guild. I have a name above my head. It's amazing. I mean, I know I'll have one, so of course. And then for the signing up, don't have it as tedious as EQ1. I personally liked World of Warcraft. You could run around with a little scroll and have people scribble their name on it, and you had to collect them. Of course, you can spam random people in town, but it felt nice. It felt like you invested. You put your name down on a guild charter. It felt good. It felt good, sort of. My 2 cents.
No, everybody, really good points. Guilds are work, as all of us know, and I remember the very first time I ever joined a guild. in EQ1 before I created my own with really good friends, and it was having that tag above your head was really, really special. And seeing the guild chat for the first time, you really felt like you were part of something, especially when you went out and did things together as a guild, and that was really neat. But we are out of time.
We got hours.
Yeah. Chardonnay, Chip, Cannon, thank you so much for guesting tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for going to Gamescom. I love your loot. Send it my way.
Loot.
I may send you a pen. That's cool.
That and hack, man. He just rolls it, gets 100 every time. Just turn around and walk away.
Hey guys, everyone, this has been Debuffed News, WildStar Edition this week. We will be back on regular Thursday evening schedules next week and every weekend after that. Mr. Puddles will be back. He will have some really great stories for us, hopefully some really good pictures, and we'll see how well he did on his raid. Y'all have a good night.
Good night, folks.